afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the National Marine Aquarium. Now, as we're closed, we are treating you guys to be able to see a dive in our Great Barrier Reef exhibit, which is just over there. Now, our divers are in the water, ready to meet you guys. So we've got James here. Give us a wave. James, what are you going to be up to today?
So I'm going to be cleaning the main cabin very quickly, and then I'll be feeding some of our fish.
Oh, cool. So cleaning.
Our giant grouper, trying to feed on moraines, some of the cover fish. Yeah, let's see what's hungry really.
So a bit of cleaning and feeding. Excellent. And we've got Heather just over here. Heather, what are you going to be up to today?
I'm going to be siphoning.
Oh.
So siphoning is a very fancy thing that basically just means that the water vacuuming.
Cool.
Yeah, fishy housekeeping.
And we've got Helen just over here. Helen, what are you up to today?
So today I'm supervising the dive, so making sure that the dive is nice and fit and healthy before they go in. And then I'm also just at the surface so that these guys know that there's always someone in contact if they need some help and they're in the water.
Excellent. So we're going to head round to the front of the tank so you guys can see the divers. But we give them a nice big wave, and then we're going to go and see them from the front of the exhibit. So we'll just head down there now. Sorry, guys. So we're just going to head to the front of house area of where our divers are going today. Now, if you've been to the aquarium before, they're actually heading to our Great Barrier Reef exhibit, which is our second biggest tank we've got in the aquarium. Now, this tank is full of lovely tropical fish. It's got our groupers in it and our humphead wrasse cooper, so we're going to see if we can spot them from the front. Our diver's going to be doing a bit of cleaning today, and they're also going to be doing a little bit of feeding. Now, when the public are normally here in the aquarium, we get people to shout the word diver as loudly as possible to get the divers to come into the tank. But as we're closed, what I want you guys to do is type the word diver, and when I think we've got enough, I'll get the divers to come into the water to say hello. So please write diver as many times as you can, lots and lots of comments saying diver, and then we'll get the divers to come in and see all the fish. So keep commenting diver, comment diver, shout it if you're at home. And then we'll get the divers to come into the water. Oh, we've got a couple coming already. Come on guys, lots of energy, because they're not gonna get in if they don't think anyone's watching. Okay, let's get our divers into the water. Now, if you guys have a look towards the back of the tank, this is where they're gonna be coming into the tank. So hopefully Helen's going to give them the signal and they're going to swim on through. Here we go. And our divers are just getting into the tank now. So you'll be able to see that we have got James, who's just swimming towards us now. He's giving us a nice big wave, and Heather is swimming behind him. So James is just coming to the front of the tank, and he's going to be giving the window a nice big scrub. Now, a way that you can contact our diver when you're in the aquarium, if you ever see them, is you can do a nice hand signal to see if they're okay. So we're going to do this, James, when he looks. He's not looking today at the moment, he's looking up, giving the tank a nice big scrub, but we'll see if he's okay in just a second. Now, in the aquarium, we dive into our exhibits every other day or so to give them a nice big clean and to be able to feed some of the animals that wouldn't be able to get fed from the scatter feed. So here in GBR, James, not paying any attention. So here in our Great Barrier Reef tank, we've got fish like Samson, who's just at the back there, Delilah, who's just down here. These are our giant groupers. These big grey grumpy looking fish are actually some of the biggest fish that we've got here in this tank. And they're going to be getting fed by James in a little bit. We've also got some eels in here, just over there, tangled up in the rocks. They're going to be getting a bit of food later on as well. So you can see James is giving the window a nice big scrub. Give us a wave, and let's see if we can get him to do this signal. Now, this signal that he's doing right now means, are you okay? So that's what I've asked him, and then he's replied, yep, I'm okay, I'm fine. So divers will do that to one another just to check that everyone is okay whilst they're in the water. Now, the reason we've got 2 divers going into this tank today is because we always send divers in pairs. Divers have to do something called buddying up to make sure that one another are all right. So today it is Heather and James. If you guys have got any questions whilst you're watching, then please do send them in on the comments. We'll try and answer them as much as we can. Thank you. James has given the window a scrub, so I think he's going to go up and get the tubs of food from Helen, who's just waiting just up there. So she'll give him the tubs of food. But yeah, any questions that you want to send in, please do. So if you're just joining us, we're actually here in front of our Great Barrier Reef tank, where our divers are going to be doing a bit of feeding, and they're doing a bit of cleaning as well at the back of the tank as well. Now this is our Great Barrier Reef tank, and it's actually our 2nd biggest exhibit here at the aquarium. We've got about 4,000 animals in this tank. If you are able to donate, that's really helpful as well, because it does help us to care for all of our animals here in the aquarium, whether it's slightly smaller fish like this, or some of our bigger residents at the back, just like Samson, who's just at the back there. So if you are able to donate, please use the link at the back. James is just showing us the target for Samson. He's coming straight over, look. So these targets are really important. Oh, he's got a very big mouth. Now these targets are really important for lots of our bigger animals in the aquarium. We train them to use these targets, and it means we can feed them specifically. So Samson, we have to make sure gets enough to eat. He is actually quite shy, even though he looks quite grumpy. And we also don't want him to steal food from the other animals. So by giving him his own food from his own tub, from his own target, we can make sure that he gets enough to eat. He's a very clever fish. So today he's getting a mixture of squid, prawns, mackerel, and he had a little bit of a sprat earlier as well. So that's something that fish eat. In this tank we have about 80 different species of fish, ranging from bigger ones like our giant grouper Samson, to something a bit smaller like a chromis that hang out in the reef. We've also got these butterfly fish just here as well that like to shoal together. They're very pretty. Oh, and some pufferfish just up there, look. So we've got 2 types of pufferfish up here. We've got our porcupine pufferfish hiding in the rocks. They're one of my favourite ones. And then we've got this one here that looks a bit like a potato. And that's another type of pufferfish that we've got. So you'll see that Samson is getting quite a lot to eat. He is a big chap, but he gets fed during the dive and then also gets fed during the 11 o'clock morning feed that we do here in the aquarium. So if you're able to, go back onto our YouTube page or through our Facebook page, and you'll be able to see the Great Barrier Reef feeding video on there. And you'll get to see Samson be fed from the top of the tank as well. So as well as the bigger fish like Samson that we have to specifically target in the tank, we do feed other animals that maybe aren't so quick to get to the top of the tank to come up and get something to eat. So we feed things like our pufferfish. We do also hide food in the sand for some of the other animals that would maybe find food through rustling through the sand. So do keep your questions coming on in. So we've had a question from Isla, age 11, and it's how long do the divers stay in the water? Now that's a really good question. If you have a look at James, you'll be able to see he's got a yellow tank on his back. Oh, he's going to feed the eels. So that yellow tank on his back is actually filled with the air that's exactly the same as the air that you and I need to breathe. So if you take a nice big deep breath and breathe out, it's the exact same air. Now that air tank has enough air to last for about an hour and a half, but generally divers only dive for up to about an hour, depending on what they need to do in the exhibits. So today they're siphoning in this tank as well, which is a bit like an underwater hoover, siphoning all the sand to make it nice and clean. So it might take them a little bit longer to dive today. But you can see James is feeding our eels here, making sure that they're getting enough to eat. Now we have to be really careful when we do try and target feed animals, because all of the other fish are very, very clever, and they've worked out that divers mean food. So they need to try and make sure that they don't get their food stolen by the other fish, because they're all sat there watching him, seeing if they can steal a snack. So we've had a question about how much training our divers need to do to go in our exhibits. So all of our divers here in the aquarium have something called a HSE qualification, dive master, which means they're able to safely dive in our exhibits. We do also have a wonderful volunteer dive team as well. They all have the same qualifications, but it helps them to get their log dives up. So when they come and volunteer in the aquarium, they're doing it to get more experience, which is really, really helpful for them. If you've ever tried diving before, give us a comment and tell us your favourite experience of diving. We'd love to read them. Oh, so we've had a question about eels and if they're dangerous from Freddie, aged 9. Now eels do have quite a very, very sharp bite on them. I'm going to go and feed the other eels just down here. Eels actually have 2 sets of jaws in their mouth. So they've got then one set of jaws right at the front, just like where our teeth are. And then where our tongue is actually another set of jaws. So we have to be really, really careful when we're feeding the eels, just to make sure that our hands aren't getting too close, because their bite can hurt. But our eels are generally quite gentle and don't really cause too many problems. You can see our honeycomb moray eels here, eating away. There we go. Also, we've had a question about why the target for Samson is black and white. So if you're just joining us, we had a big giant grouper right at the front of the tank earlier called Samson, and his target is black and white. It looks a bit like a barcode. Now the reason his target is black and white is because it's much easier for him to be able to see it in the water than having lots and lots of colours on it. Just a clear black and white target makes it a lot easier for him to spot when he's at the back of the tank. So Uma, aged 10, has asked which is the biggest fish in the tank. So the eels are pretty big. These guys can grow up to be, well, these guys are about 6 foot long, so that's pretty big. It's about the same size as a person. But Samson is the biggest fish that we've got in this tank. He did get fed a little bit earlier on, but I think he's gone to the back maybe to have a bit of a nap. Oh, so James is just showing us something he's giving the animals. This is a cockle. So we give this to lots of animals around the aquarium, and he's going to hide it, I think. Yeah, he's going to bury it in the sand for some of the animals to try and find. Now this is really, really good for the animals because it helps to stimulate their hunting abilities that they would naturally have in the wild. So it's something we call enrichment. So we do it with lots and lots of, well, all of the animals in the aquarium. We enrich all of them to make sure that they're nice and happy whilst they're here in our care. So James is just feeding the animals, giving them something to eat, and hiding some cockles in the sand. Now all of the food that we give every single animal here in the aquarium is all really, really good quality food. It's all fished as sustainably as possible, and it costs about £1,000 a week to feed all 4,000 of our animals. So anything anyone's able to give is really, really helpful, because it means we can give our fish the best care possible and make sure they're all nice and happy. If you can't donate, then please do just share our Facebook page or other social media, and that's also really, really helpful as well. So we're just giving the pufferfish up here something to eat. They're really, really funny when they eat. Pufferfish aren't adapted to be the best swimmers in the world. You can see they've got these little fins that are like if you had your arms fused to your side You can only wiggle your hands. That's what it's like to try and swim as a pufferfish. But they are really well adapted to protect themselves. So they've got all of those spikes that help protect them if something was going to come along and eat it. And I think our pufferfish might be coming back over in a minute. James is keeping an eye on him. Here we go, he's coming over for a bit more of a snack. So we're trying to feed this pufferfish here as well, which you can see does look a little bit different. Here comes Samson again. So if you didn't see him earlier, this is Samson. Samson is a giant grouper. He's just swimming at the bottom of your screen now, whilst our pufferfish have a bit of crab. Also, we've had a question from Amy, age 10, about how you become a marine biologist. So all of our divers are marine biologists here at the aquarium. They're part of the best animal care team, I think, in the entire world, making sure that each and every one of our animals have got the best life possible, whether that's feeding them or cleaning their exhibits, treating them if they need it, and giving them enrichment. To become a marine biologist, lots of our divers and our biologists here at the aquarium went to university, but just having passion is really, really good as well. So Amy, if you want to become a marine biologist, go out into the world, go rock pooling, go to the beach as much as you can, and just explore whilst you're a bit younger. And then when you're a bit older, you can do some volunteering, and that's really, really good to help you get into the world of marine biologists. But we did a video last week about meeting our marine biologists, so do have a little look for that video, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more information about our marine biologists and what they do here at the aquarium. So if you're just joining us, we are in front of our Great Barrier Reef exhibit, feeding and cleaning this tank with our divers. We've got James here, who's one of the biologists here at the aquarium, and also a diver, which is very, very cool. And he's feeding some of the lovely animals we've got here in this exhibit. So he's just having a look out to see if there's any more animals that need something to eat. He's got some prawns in his tub, as well as some fish and bits of crab as well. Smushing it up into the water for the other fish to eat. And you'll be able to see the variety of animals that we've got here in this tank as well. Mushing it up. But this tank is one of our most diverse exhibits. It's got lots and lots of different types of animals in it, which truly reflects on what the Great Barrier Reef is like out in the ocean. The ocean is a really, really important place that's really diverse, and we celebrate that here at the aquarium as much as possible. So you've had a question about how often the animals in this tank need feeding. So these guys get fed every single day from the top though. So the food gets thrown in from the top and kind of rains down into the exhibits. And then our divers dive once or twice a week, giving us a nice wave. Our divers will dive once or twice a week into this tank to give it some cleaning, which is really important, and also to feed some of the animals that aren't so quick to get to the top, like our pufferfish. So they get fed every single day. This is just a nice extra feed, just to make sure that everyone's happy. So we've had a question about, do the divers dive in the shark tank? Yes, they dive into every single one of our 3 large exhibits, at least once a week, to make sure that everyone's happy, and do lots and lots of cleaning as well. And we did that video a few weeks ago, so do check that on our YouTube channel. That was the last Meet the Divers video. You'll be able to see them swimming around in our shark tank. But that one's a little bit different. They don't feed the animals in that tank, because obviously they're very, very big. We don't want them to associate the divers with food. So I think James is just going to go and pop that tub up to Helen at the top of the tank, possibly. So Helen is at the top, she is supervising the dive, making sure that the divers are nice and safe. And just at the back, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, we've got another diver. Yeah, you can't see it, but we've got another diver at the back called Heather, and she is doing something called siphoning, which is very, very important to do in the tank. We've got to keep it nice and clean. So thank you so much for joining us here today at the National Marine Aquarium. We can't wait to see you soon, but please do consider donating to us if you can. Anything you're able to give does help care for our amazing animals here in the aquarium, but just liking and sharing our social media is really, really helpful too. We can't wait to see you hopefully really, really soon, but if not, keep safe and we'll see you in the future. Thank you guys.